So students, today we are going to start IAS 16, a very important standard, and the good news is we have already covered the standard in our previous papers. So IAS 16. The name of the standard is Property, Plant and Equipment. Property, Plant and Equipment. Students, let's start our discussion from very basic point. There is a term called resource. What is resource? Anything providing benefit to the business is called resource. Anything which is providing the benefit to the entity, to the organization, to the business is called resource. For example, if we have taken a building on rent, obviously we are taking benefit from that building, so that rental building is a resource. For example, the employees of the business are working for the business and they are creating output for the business. Obviously business is getting benefit from the employees, so employees are the resource for the organization, for the business. In the same way, if there is any rental plant, obviously organization is getting benefit from that rental plant. Once again, the rental plant is a resource for the organization. But all these examples are not the assets of the entity. These are only resources. But if the entity, if the business has control over the resource, then it will become asset. For example, if we have a rental building, then obviously it is a resource. But because it is a rental building, we don't have 100% control on that building. In that case, it is not an asset. Because we are getting benefit from a rental building, it is a resource, but because we don't have control over that resource, that's why we cannot classify that resource as an asset. So what are the assets? Resources controlled by the entity, controlled by the business, are called assets. For example, if we have purchased a plant and we are using that plant within our business. Now, in this case, we have purchased a plant. So plant is a resource because we are using this plant within our business and we are getting benefit. So we have purchased a plant for use in business, so it is resource. Because we have purchased the plant, that's why we have control over the plant, and now it will become our asset. So this is the very starting point. Those resources which are under the control of the entity are called assets. Moving forward, The next term is non-current assets. So, normally speaking, those assets whose useful life is greater than 1 year are called non-current assets. Those assets whose useful life is greater than 1 year, all those assets are classified as non-current assets. And all those non-current assets who have physical existence means they are tangible. So all those assets who have physical existence and they are held for business use. We have purchased those assets for use in our business. Those assets are called property, plant and equipment. So, students, we are going to study these types of non-current assets which are called property, plant and equipment. So let me repeat once again for you guys. Resources which are controlled by the entity are called assets. Those assets whose useful life is greater than 1 year are called non-current assets. Those non-current assets who have physical existence and held for use in business, those non-current assets are called property, plant and equipment. And in our today's class, we are going to start property, plant and equipment, which is called IAS 60. So students, we are going to study IAS 60. Okay. So we have smart notes with us. I will share these notes later on. Yes. Definition of property, plant and equipment. These are tangible non-current assets. These are the non-current assets who have physical existence and these are held for use in production. Normally, these assets are held for use in business or rendering services. Maybe we hold these assets for rendering services. Maybe, for example, you can say we have purchased a delivery van. So now we own a delivery van in order to deliver the goods, in order to provide the services, or rental to others, or use in administration. So there are different assets which we will use in administration purpose, just like computers, just like cleaning equipments. So those non-current assets who have physical existence which are tangible, and we hold those assets either for use in production or providing services or rental to others or use in administration purpose. So, but the basic point over here is business use. Normally, we hold these assets for use in our business. Initial recognition. Initial recognition means whether we should record this asset or not, or we should record this asset as a property, plant and equipment, or we should classify this non-current asset within an other category. So initial recognition tells us whether an asset should be recorded under the standard, whether a non-current asset should be recorded as a tangible non-current asset or property, plant and equipment. So property, plant and equipment should be recognized as an asset when it meets the definition of property, plant and equipment. So obviously, we will only record an asset as a property, plant and equipment when it will satisfy the definition of property, plant and equipment. And what is the definition of property, plant and equipment? Those non-current assets held for use in production or use in services or rental to others or use in administration. So we can only record an asset as a property, plant and equipment if it meets the definition of property, plant and equipment. Secondly, it satisfies the definition of an asset as well. It satisfies the criteria of an asset as well. And what is the criteria to record anything as an asset? Students, we can only record anything as an asset if, first of all, I have missed a point over here, control. So the starting point is, please write a word control over here, third point. So first of all, there must be within the control of the entity. We have just discussed this point. In order for a resource to become an asset, it should pass the test of control. So if you want to record anything as an asset, first of all, you must have the control of that asset. So the first point is control. Second point, probable inflow of economic benefits. So anybody knows what is the meaning of probable? You can send your answers in the chat section. Do you know the meaning of probable? Anybody? Yes. Probable means the chances of getting the benefit from this asset are more than 50%. So when there are more than 50% chances that we will get benefit from this asset in the future, then it is probable. Probable means more than 50% chances. So probable inflow of economic benefits. The chances of getting benefit from this asset in the future is more than 50%. Secondly, cost can be measured reliably. We must be able to measure the cost of this asset. For example, maybe we have purchased this asset. So we have the documents to calculate the cost of this asset, because if we are unable to calculate the cost of this asset, then how is it possible to record this asset? In order to record this asset, we must need the exact cost of this asset. So cost should be measured reliably. So this was the initial recognition. So initial recognition means if you want to record any asset as a property, plant and equipment, so the starting point is, first of all, definition of property, plant and equipment should be satisfied. So what is the definition? We have repeated this definition 2-3 times. Number two, satisfy criteria of asset. And what is the criteria to record an asset? First of all, control. We cannot record anything as an asset until we have the control of that asset. Number two, probable benefit. Chances to get the benefit from that asset should be more than 50%. And third one is cost measurable reliably. Reliably measurable. So these are the recognition criteria. If this criteria is satisfied, it means now you can record that item as a property, plant and equipment. If this criteria is not satisfied, unfortunately, you cannot record that item as a property, plant and equipment. Maybe you will be able to record that item as an asset into any other category, but you cannot record that asset as property, plant and equipment. For example, spare parts. If we have purchased different spare parts and we will use these spare parts in different machines. So if we have purchased different spare parts for the machines, whether we should record these spare parts as an asset, as a property, plant and equipment, means as a non-current asset, or we should record them as an inventory. So it's written over here, normally spare parts are recorded as an inventory. So if we have purchased different spare parts for use in our machines, so these spare parts will be recorded as an inventory. And its cost is charged to P&L. It will be recorded as an expense, maybe. So what would be the double entry? Debit would be purchases and credit would be cash. So it will be recorded as an expense. So we have purchased the inventory and we have consumed that inventory within our business. However, there is an exception over here. These will be capitalized as a property, plant and equipment. Spare parts can be recorded as a property, plant and equipment if they are specific in nature. This is the first condition. These spare parts have specific in nature. Specific in nature means this is a special type of the part which can only be used in a specific machine. So if we have purchased journal spare parts, then it will be recorded as an expense. But if we have purchased a special part for a special machine, this is the first point. It means it is special or specific in nature. So the first point is special. Number two, material cost. So it must have major amount. It should not have minor amount. So minor amount varies from business to business. For example, if you have assets in millions, obviously the minor amount will have different amount. But if you have the assets in thousands, then the level of the minor amount will change. It would be different. So the level of materiality, the minor amount will vary from business to business, and it will be mentioned in your exam. Either it is material or immaterial. So it should have material cost. So it should not have minor cost. It should have major cost, major value. Economic benefits are for more than 1 year. So this spare part can be used for more than 1 year. Only then we can record this spare part as an asset. So normally, if we have purchased a spare part, we will record it as an expense. But if we have purchased a spare part and these three conditions are specified, it is specific in nature. It is a special spare part for a special machine, for a specific machine. So it is specific in nature. Secondly, its cost is material. Third one, we can get benefit from this spare part for more than 1 year. So if these 3 points are satisfied, if all these 3 points are satisfied, we can record this spare part as a non-current asset, and we can include this spare part in property, plant and equipment. So if the safety equipment, if we have installed a safety equipment and it will not enhance the value of the asset, it will be recorded as an expense. But on the other hand, if it enhances the value of the asset, then it will be recorded as a property, plant and equipment. Next one. Segmentation of complex asset. Segmentation means dividing into parts. Segmentation means separation. So let's take an example of a train. Suppose a train. Students, can you please tell me that whether every part of the train has the same useful life, or the different part of a train has different useful life? What is your opinion? I'm talking about complex asset. I'm talking about big assets having value in millions. So I'm talking about complex assets. I'm talking about big assets. I'm giving an example of a train. So suppose we have a train, we own a train, and can you please tell me what is your opinion? Either the different parts of the machine has different useful life, or every part of the machine has same useful life. Then obviously the different part of the train has different useful life. For example, if you will consider the boxes of the train, obviously it has different useful life. If you will consider the tires of the train, it has different useful life. If you will consider the engine of the train, it will have different useful life. So different part of the train is a big asset, train is a complex asset. So in case of complex assets, different part of the asset has different useful life. So if a non-current asset has different components and they are different in nature. Each component has different useful life. So in this case, each component will be recognized separately as a non-current asset. So in case of train, we will record engine as a separate asset. We will record train boxes as a separate asset. And we will record tires of the train as a separate asset. Because every part has different useful life. And we will record depreciation of every part as per its own specific useful life. So we will recognize each component will be recorded as a separate asset as per its separate useful life. Aggregation. Students, are you familiar with the toolkit? Repair tools or toolkit? Normally it is available with the bike, it is also available in the car. Toolkit used for repair. Have you ever seen a toolkit? There are different components. There is maybe screwdriver, maybe there are different tools to open different parts of the car. No, neither. This is something else. So toolkit is a kit of different small components for repairing purpose. If you have ever visited a mechanic, obviously he has a toolkit which includes different components for repairing of cars or bikes and different assets. So if we will consider the value of each component of the toolkit, it will be immaterial. So if we will take the value of each component, it will become immaterial and it should be recorded as an expense. They are individually insignificant. But if we will consider the value of the full toolkit become material in aggregate. So if there are different parts, if there are different components and these components are interrelated. So toolkit is a very good example. Whenever you will visit a mechanic, he has always a toolkit having different components for repairing purpose. So if you will consider the value of each component, obviously it will be immaterial, but it will become material in aggregate. If you will consider the value of all components of the toolkit, it will become material, it will become a major amount, a handsome amount, then it will be recorded as property, plant and equipment. The total cost of all the components should be recorded as a non-current asset as a property, plant and equipment. So it was all about initial recognition. Initially, if we have purchased an asset, initially, so we should record it as an asset if it meets the definition of property, plant and equipment and it meets the criteria of asset. So this was all about initial recognition. Now, say we have purchased a non-current asset. initial recognition. So we have purchased a non-current asset. Now we are moving towards subsequent recognition. So initially we have purchased a non-current asset and we have recorded it property, plant and equipment. So subsequent recognition means if we will incur expenditures on this asset in the future. So whether we should record it, those expenditures as an expense or as an asset. For example, we have purchased a property, plant and equipment for 1 lakh. And in the future, there is a subsequent recognition or subsequent expenditure of, say, repair. So in the future, there is a repair expenditure of £4,000. So whether this is a subsequent expenditure. Subsequent expenditure means expenditure on asset after the year of purchase. So we have purchased an asset and we are going to incur expenditure on that asset in the subsequent years as well. So whether we should record it as an expense or we should add this £4,000 within the cost of this asset. We should record this £4,000 as an asset as well. So what is the guideline provided by IAS 16? So let's read the guideline. Subsequent expenditure. Expenditure during the life of the asset. Expenditure incurred on asset after the year of purchase. So normally it is recorded as an expense. If it is incurred to maintain the capacity or efficiency or useful life. Just like repair expense, you're all familiar with the repair cost. So normally we incur repair cost in the subsequent years. And we incur repair cost to maintain the capacity or to maintain the efficiency or to maintain the useful life of the asset. So normally the repair cost will be recorded as an expense. So debit, expense and credit would be cash, or if you have not paid until now, then it will be payable. So normally this is the normal treatment of the subsequent expenditure. But the subsequent expenditure will be recorded as an asset if it enhances the useful life or economic benefit or earning capacity or efficiency of an asset. For example, suppose we have installed a generator. We have purchased a generator for £1 lakh. And after 2 years, we have installed a UPS with this generator as well. We have installed batteries with this generator as well. So this UPS or these batteries are basically not part of the generator. So with the installation of these batteries, obviously the capital value of this asset has increased. Efficiency of this asset has increased. So we have installed a part with this asset that was not previously the part of this asset. So these batteries were not installed previously with this generator or with this plant. Now we have installed batteries with this. So there is an installation of extra item or extra asset. So due to the installation of maybe previously there was only one battery with this machine. Now we have installed one extra battery. So we have purchased a machine for 1 lakh pounds. Previously there was only one battery with this machine, and now we have installed an extra battery. Previously there was backup of only 1 hour, and now this machine has backup of 2 hours due to the installation of one extra battery. So now, as a result of installation of this extra battery, not only efficiency has increased, but obviously the value of this asset has also increased. So now we will record this expenditure as a non-current asset, and we will add the value of this battery within the carrying value of the existing asset. Carrying value means remaining value. So we have already purchased the asset for 1 lakh pounds. So we will not take complete 1 lakh, we will take carrying value. So everybody knows carrying value is equal to cost less accumulated depreciation. You are familiar with this concept from your previous studies, from your earlier studies. So this was the original asset. This was UPS. This was the original asset. And we have installed an extra battery with this UPS. And now it has electricity backup. Previously the electricity backup was for 1 hour, and now it has electricity backup of 2 hours. So we will take carrying value of this UPS, and we will add the value of this extra battery within the cost of this asset. So we will take carrying value and we will add enhanced cost less residual value, and now we will depreciate it with the remaining useful life. So we will cover depreciation in a while as well, but the point over here is this enhancement cost, this subsequent expenditure will be added in the cost of the original asset. Overhaul or major inspection. Okay, students, overhaul is not just simple repair. Overhaul means inspection of every single part of an asset. Inspection of every single part of an asset and replace it if it is required. So please remember this definition. What is overhaul? Overhaul means inspection of every single part of an asset and we are going to replace any part if it is not appropriate or if it's not working efficiently. So for example, so the total cost of the overhaul is, say, £10,000, and after every 5 years. So we conduct overhaul after every 5 years. So there is a major inspection. There will be inspection of every part of the asset after every 5 years. So this because quality of our product depends upon this machine, and that's why quality of this machine is very important for the survival of our organization. So that's why there is overhaul of this machine after every 5 years. Suppose maybe it may be 10 years, it may be 2 years. So the overall cost is £10,000. So students, we will record these 10,000 pounds as a non-current assets. Overhaul will always be recorded as a non-current asset because it's obviously increases the life of the asset. So overhaul will be recorded as a property, plant and equipment. It will be recorded as a non-current asset. And how to record the depreciation? Total cost divided by overhaul duration. So if the overhaul time is after every 5 years, so next overhaul will be obviously after 5 years. So we will divide it by 5 years. So overhaul, it will be recorded as a property, plant and equipment. It will be recorded as a non-current asset, and depreciation will be on number of years until next overhaul. For example, if the overhaul is after every 5 years, then obviously the next overhaul will be after 5 years. So we will record depreciation as per 5 years. And replacement of a scrapped component of a complex asset. So students, we have already covered the point of complex asset. So every component of the complex asset will be recorded separately, and depreciation will be recorded separately as well. So every component of a complex asset will be recorded separately, and it will be depreciated separately as well. So students, these are the few basic points for IAS 16: when to record an asset as a property, plant and equipment, when not to record as any expenditure as a property, plant and equipment. So this was the basic information on recording of property, plant and equipment. So if anybody has any issue, you can ask. So now we have learned that initially an asset should be recorded at cost. Now we are moving towards measurement perspective. Measurement means how to calculate the cost. For example, for example, suppose we have purchased a machine, and suppose we are going to install a generator for electricity. We are going to install a generator or any other machine. So we have purchased this machine, say, for 60,000 pounds. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to calculate the cost of an asset. How to calculate the cost of an asset? What should be included in the cost of an asset? So for example, I have purchased a machine for, say, 60,000 pounds. Because I have purchased this machine from another country, then there are import duties. There are import charges, import taxes, which I have paid, say 5,000 pounds. And please remember, ignore if refundable. If these charges are refundable, you can claim these charges and you can take refund of these charges, then obviously you should ignore it, then it will not become the cost. because you are going to recover it. So we have purchased a machine for £60,000. We have paid charges of £5,000 as an import duties. So at the time of the purchase, there is a legal cost for the contract as well, or other legal issues. So maybe we have paid £1,000 as a legal cost. Maybe we have hired a lawyer. Maybe we have hired a special person. Maybe this is legal cost of documentation. So this is the legal cost. After that, transportation cost, transport cost. Obviously, if we have purchased this asset from overseas, then obviously there will be transportation cost from bringing this asset from overseas to UK. So maybe we have incurred transportation cost of £3,000. Now we have received this asset and handling cost. So maybe when we have purchased this asset, we have this asset within our premises, and obviously it will take time for the installation of this asset. So maybe we have to hold this asset, for a month, and we will install this asset after 1 month maybe. So maybe handling cost or holding cost. So we will hold this asset for a month, and after that we will install it. So maybe we have incurred handling cost or holding cost of £500. After that, site preparation. Site preparation cost. Friends, if we want to install a machinery, obviously we need to prepare the base. We cannot obviously put that machine on a normal surface. Obviously, we have a strong base especially for a heavy machinery. So site preparation cost. Maybe we have to construct a special room for installation of that machinery, because there are some machines which needs to be operated at a specific temperature. So maybe we have to construct a special type of room. Maybe, for example, if you are taking example of a generator, then obviously you have to prepare the base. You cannot put that asset on a normal surface. So site preparation cost. So we have incurred £1,500 of the site preparation cost. And after that, we will assemble that asset. We will install that asset. Installation cost. So we will incur installation cost of say £2,000. Installation cost means we will assemble all the parts of the asset. We will install that asset. Maybe there will be a professional fee. Professional fee. Professional fee means those labor or engineers who are installing this machine, obviously we have to pay their fee. We have to pay their charges, just like engineers. Say we have paid £1,000 to the engineers, or for the for the professional fee as well. Now the machine is ready for use. then obviously we cannot start production with this machine straight away. We have to test it first. Testing cost. So the cost incurred for the testing is, say, £600. And when we tested this machine, it is not operating. Suppose it was not operating efficiently. So there are few modifications which are required in this machine before we are going to start production with this machine. So the cost of the modification is, say, £400. The last item is dismantling cost. Students, when the useful life of this machine will end, obviously we have to remove this machine from this place. So the cost of removing this machine from this place when the life of this machine will end in future, that cost is called dismantling cost. Dismantling cost means the cost of removing the scrap of this machine when the life of this machine will end, when the life of this machine will complete. Students, please keep in mind, it will always be recorded at present value. Dismantling cost will always be recorded at present value. Suppose how to find out the present value? Maybe we will incur cost of £2,000 after 5 years. We will incur dismantling cost. We will incur dismantling cost of £2,000 after 5 years. So whenever you need to find the present value, students, please remember interest rate will always be given. Suppose interest rate is 10%. So how to find out the present value? So students, there is a formula to find out the present value, which is cost multiplied by 1 over 1 plus r raised to power n. So this is the formula to find out the present value. So present value is equal to cost multiplied by 1 over 1 plus r raised to power n. What is the cost of this asset? £2,000. 1 over 1 plus r. R stands for rate of interest. So rate of interest is 10%. So if I will remove percentage, I should write it 0.1. And n stands for number of years. We will incur this cost after 5 years. So n stands for number of years. Can anyone calculate this value, please? Can anyone calculate this value, please? 141,242. Okay. So instead of £2,000, we will record its present value, which is 1242. Can you please add all these values? This is basically the total cost. This is the total cost of this asset. Seven six two four two. Okay. So this is the total cost. Debit would be property, plant and equipment, and credit would be, if we have already paid the amount, then it would be cash, or if we have not paid the amount yet, then it would be payable. So debit would be property, plant and equipment 76242, and credit would be cash or payable 76242. So let's come back towards the notes. Property, plant and equipment initially recorded at cost. Okay, so property, plant and equipment initially recorded at cost, and the all cost necessary to bring an asset in management desired working condition. So every cost incurred on the asset to bring the asset in usable condition will become part of the cost. So students, we have already taken example and we have already considered all these expenditures. For example, first of all, purchase price, and please take the purchase price after the discount, plus any transportation cost or import duties or legal charges or handling cost. Or site preparation cost or installation cost or maybe professional fee, testing cost, and modification cost or dismantling cost. So this is the total cost. So this would be the double entry. Debit would be property, plant and equipment, and credit would be cash or payable. And when we will make the payment, if we have purchased the asset, if we have purchased the asset on credit, and when we will make the payment in future, then obviously debit would be payable, credit would be cash, and if we are going to receive any discount in the future as well, so credit would be discount. So cash or settlement discount will not affect the cost of the cost of an asset, would be credited as income in the future years. So as you all know, there are two types of discounts. One is trade discount. Trade discount is the discount given at the time of the purchase. It is also called bargain discount. So the discount given at the time of the purchase, it is called trade discount. And the other type of the discount is cash or settlement discount. This discount will not be deducted from the cost of the asset. Only trade discount will be deducted from the cost of the asset. So if you are going to avail cash or settlement discount, this would be the double entry. Debit would be payable, credit would be cash, and credit would be discount. And this discount will be recorded as an income. So please remember the difference between these two types of discounts. If there is trade discount, we will deduct it from the cost of the asset. There is no other treatment. On the other hand, if there is cash or settlement discount, then this discount will only be recorded at the time of the payment. When you will make the payment of the asset in the future, debit would be payable, credit would be cash, and credit would be cash discount as an income. There are few technical points which relates to the cost of an asset. Self-constructed asset. If you have not purchased an asset from the market and you have constructed by yourself, building is a very good example of a self-constructed asset. So if you have constructed a building by yourself, then at what value we should record it? Cost of self-constructed asset will be the cost of the production. So if you have constructed a building, so you should keep the record of all the costs incurred for this building. And the total cost will be recorded as the cost of that asset. So in case of any self-constructed asset, you should keep record of all the items of the cost, and the total of those costs will be the cost of the asset. Excluded costs. Students, this is very important point for MCQ's perspective. Please remember, these are the excluded costs. These are the costs eliminated by the accounting standard. We cannot record these costs as an asset. First of all, these costs can never be capitalized and charged to P&L as an expense. Testing cost. So please keep a word recoverable. For example, if we have purchased a new machinery, we have installed a new machinery, and we have produced a few samples on testing basis. We have produced a few sample products just for testing. If we are able to sell these samples in the market, then obviously we are going to recover the cost of these samples. In that case, you will not add testing cost over here. Yes, you can see. If as a result of the testing, I'm repeating this point once again, it's a bit tricky. Testing cost, if you are able to recover your testing cost. For example, as a result of testing, you have produced few samples and you will sell those samples in the market and you will recover your testing cost. In that case, testing cost will not be added in the cost of the asset. Okay, so testing cost, if recovered, in that case it will become excluded cost. Suppose if testing cost is 1000 and the samples are sold for 800, then only 200 pounds, the 200 pounds will be added in the cost of the asset. It's written over here, net of any income from the samples. If testing cost is 1000 and samples are sold for 800, then still there is cost of 200 pounds. It will be added in the cost of the asset. Got it? Okay. So testing cost, then insurance cost, repair and maintenance, relocation cost of shifting from relocation cost means cost of shifting an asset from one place to another. Initial operating losses, for example, if we are unable to operate the assets efficiently, we don't have the experienced staff to operate that asset, and obviously due to lack of experience, we are incurring any losses. These losses will be recorded as an expense. a rectification cost of error. If there are any errors, then obviously rectification cost, this is kind of repair cost. It will be recorded as an expense, administration or general overheads. So all the overheads, as you all know, all the overheads will be recorded as an expense. Extended credit period. Students, as you all know, if you will purchase an asset on installments, you have to pay extra prices as compared to the normal price. Is it true? Are you agree? If you are going to purchase an asset on installments, if you are going to purchase an asset on installments, you have to pay extra cost as compared to the normal selling price, normal purchase price. So the extra payment which you are going to pay due to installments, that is called extended credit period. Installment period means extended credit period. So if an asset has purchased on extended credit period, means on installments. If we have purchased an asset on installments, then the asset will not be the asset will be recorded at cash equivalent value or market value, and any excess amount will be recorded as an interest cost. For example, for example, uh, purchase price or market value of an asset is £10,000. If purchased on 1 year installment, then we have to pay £11,000. So how to record it? Students, asset will be recorded at normal market value, which is £10,000. So debit would be property, plant and equipment at £10,000. Debit would be interest expense, £1,000, and credit would be payable liability, £11,000. So the extra payment which we are going to pay as a result of the extended credit period, it will be recorded as an expense. So in today's class, we have learned that initially an asset should be recorded at cost. And what are the components of the cost? So we have learned in detail what are the elements or components of the cost as well. So in tomorrow's class, we will cover subsequent measurement. So in today, we have learned initial recognition. So initially an asset will be recorded at cost. And in the next year, when we will use this asset, obviously we will charge depreciation. So in tomorrow's class, we will cover subsequent measurement, what are the methods to charge depreciation, how to record the asset in the next years. So I guess enough for today. What do you say?